Welcome to Anglatinas. I'm Rosie.
And I'm Izzy, and we're best friends from the UK.
We've spent these last few years living and travelling in Latin America, being immersed in new cultures, falling in and out of love, and learning to balance the old with the new.
Join us on this journey as we explore life living between continents, living the dream, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
We are
Anglatinas. We hope you enjoy the ride.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Welcome back to
Anglatinas. We're in a giggly mood. This is in a giggly mood.
I'm in a giggly mood because we went off on a tangent last episode, which has inspired the tangent didn't make it to the cut last episode because it was a complete tangent. But it's inspired the topic for this episode. So, do you want to discover what our tangent was?
Yeah, we're actually making a full episode on just a 10-minute tangent that we went on. But no, it is really interesting.
About British stereotypes. Stereotypes that other people have of British people, that we have of ourselves.
Misconceptions.
Which ones we agree with, which ones we don't, etc., etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't know if we're selling it.
We were talking about.
But this clip.
It came up. It's good. Oh, it's good. Because why? We were talking about being English teachers. If you've watched the previous episode, you'll know that. And I asked a question about what our students have said to us, asked questions that they've asked us about what they think Britishness is, or British people, what they think British people are like. And so that started the whole thing. So
yeah,
we're gonna magic that clip in now, and then we will reconvene. Right?
Enjoy.
Boop. So, common misconceptions. First things that what are the first things? You can go first, Izzy. I've got some noted down, but what are the first things that people kind of signpost to you when you say, I'm British?
I think that this is from a more of a perspective of a Brazilian perspective than I think you'll probably have a more European perspective, which is actually something that I find really interesting. Maybe this is a different podcast topic, but anyway, we'll see where it goes. I think that Brazilians have an over-romanticized view of British people and their culture. So they think that we're like super polite and like have more of a vision of like the Crown, or it's more like the whole popular culture thing, like either the Crown or like Peaky Blinders type thing, like. Which obviously I know those kind of stereotypes exist, but like
you're either Tommy Shelby or Olivia Colman, and there's no in between.
From my point of view, they have like an overly positive perception of British people. And I actually said this to one of my students the other day. I have a student who's been with me for a couple of months, and she just loves British people. She loves everything about England, and she's like, oh, because you're just so this and that, and I was showing her some specific stereotypes of this cartoon about British people, and one of them was like, I'm a different person when the sun's out, I'll never refuse a drink, like some things like that. And she was like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, she was talking about the politeness and the overall pleasantness, and I was like, European people tend to think that English people are like loud and messy and like drunk and like awful mess bringers. Like horrible, because she was like, but I think that's how people think Brazilians are. And I was like, no, that's how Europeans view English people, because that's like the general.
Because that's what they know. That's what we bring to them, their coastal resorts.
Exactly.
Isn't it? And Brazilians do experience that, but not on the same scale. perhaps. So they're still very much like Bridgerton or like, yeah, The Crown vibes, not like Shameless or
Yeah.
Well, exactly. You summed my ideas up wonderfully. As I was going to say, The Queen, The Crown, Harry Potter, afternoon tea.
Oh, you wanted specific. Sorry, I went down.
No, but that's fine. Those things embody what you just said, includes all of the things that I just said. Okay, sometimes we bring up some Insta posts in the podcast, and I'd like to do that now because this is what makes me think about all of this. I'm going around in circles here, but okay, bear with me.
Bring it up. You don't have to introduce it. Just do
Right.
what you want. It's
Sorry,
your podcast.
I'm segueing, Izzy. I'm segueing. Leave
You
me.
used to segue in a natural way. Now you're introducing segues. You've lost the art.
Because I saw this post and it was, and I don't have it in front of me, and it was also in Spanish, but it said, when you're eating tacos at a taco stand in Mexico, when you leave and you walk away from the taco stand, you say provecho, which means basically bon appetit to other taco consumers. Okay, this is what the post said. And then it said, not even the British crown or like the British royal family, the British monarchy have those kinds of manners. So that to me proves what this idea that people have about Britishness is manners, but also it's so wrong.
Yeah, because we
And
don't
it
even
kind
have a
of feels
word for that. You just use the French word. We don't even have a word for
exactly. Yeah.
bon appetit.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing is that I think like that post, for example, it's like trying to offend Britishness. Like, oh, you're not even that polite that you
We
say
don't see
provecho to people.
ourselves as polite.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that, for example, the Portuguese language, the Brazilian Portuguese language, has so many different ways to like express thanks and gratitude and condolences and what we have in Britain is not necessarily manners. It's more like etiquette, like things that you're expected that you should do, but there's not necessarily a feeling behind it. Do you know what I mean? Like saying sorry a lot. Like that's why Brazilians, for example, have it. Oh, you go in the supermarket and you bump into, like the person bumps into you and they say sorry, like, oh, sorry. But it's not like there's not like a genuine
feeling there
behind it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like you need to put your foot, knife and fork together at whatever these things that we don't even realize are like ingrained in us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't truly feel it or believe it, or we don't actually wish somebody these things.
Why do you have to put your knife and fork together when you're finishing? I don't fucking know. I just know that you're supposed to. And it's rude if you don't. But why is it rude? It's not rude. But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Very well said. But yeah, that's something that kind of gets under my skin a little bit. It's like, we don't actually care. Like, get to know the real Britain. I don't actually care about how polite we're conceived to be, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very aware that other cultures have like a lot more respect for one another than what we have.
Yeah.
But there is this idea that, oh my God, you guys are the politest. No, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I think, basically. I think that people here, my experience of it living in Latin America, it's given me this insight that people here, in my opinion, have the wrong idea of Britishness and of British people in general. I think that we have a different opinion of ourselves, but mainly that like other Europeans have a completely different, like we talked about in the clip, like the whole hooligan, Brit abroad, burnt, drunken person type thing.
Yeah. But I think that neither of those like far ends of the stereotype are that wrong, you know, like
they both exist.
There are people like that. They've come from somewhere. Like we've all seen those kinds of people in Costa del Sol or whatever. Or, you know, there are people who sit around drinking tea with their little pinkies and stuff. But as with all stereotypes, the reality is that it's usually something in the middle, or like a toned down version of that. Most people are in between. I can be both, I've been along the scale
Exactly.
between both of those things.
So actually, to kick us off, what is a stereotype? According to the dictionary, a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. So this is the fascinating thing about stereotypes, because obviously, yes, sometimes we have to be careful with stereotypes. Sometimes they can be offensive, or sometimes there are offensive things that have been like fed over time and they're not based on truth. But more often than not, they are based on some form of truth, right? So like the stereotype of the Bridgerton Brit, or the Crown Brit, or the hooligan Brit, they all do exist, right? But that doesn't mean to say that all British people can be characterized like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or by their culture,
we're
because
people,
all people are just
version of that.
different, aren't they?
But yeah, anyway, they are funny. They are funny, and then it's funny the ones that come back time and time again. The ones that students do or people do automatically. Okay, that's the British stereotype. But
so
I don't hate them. I don't mind them. I don't hate them. I find them quite entertaining. But I think that's personal preference. Maybe some people get irritated.
Well, actually, in the previous clip, you were quite irritated.
Was I? Was I irritated? Oh,
yeah.
No, I was irritated. I wasn't
Depends on the
irritated at
day.
the stereotype. I was irritated at the fact that people use those stereotypes to try and like put themselves above us, right? Like,
oh, right.
How can
Yes.
use them against us? Like, you're supposed to be this, but you're actually not. And it's like, okay, calm down, mate. It's just a stereotype.
I never said I was.
We don't actually believe think ourselves to be like that. Yeah. I'm not mad at the stereotype. It's just, how are you going to use them against me? Don't do that. But yeah.
It's a fun thing to talk about. And when you're like teaching, on the last episode's point, like when you're a teacher and stuff, a lot of these cultural differences and talking about the culture is what a lot of people want to talk about, don't they? Like they want to learn about England, or they want to know about these curious things, just like we want to know about other places as well. So and I like sometimes talk about different stereotypes, or talk about different things that exist as options. But in general, I'm quite disappointed in English people, and people here are disappointed by me. You know what I mean? Like, is it true? Is it true that British people drink tea all day, every day? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, have you read all the Harry Potter books? I'm like, no, I haven't read any.
Never read one. Yeah. And we were saying, weren't we, just before we started recording, that you've always been like that, and that's kind of nothing to do with having traveled or having lived abroad or anything like that. But I think you've always been like that.
Yeah.
I think I've always been like,
you're really British.
I've definitely always been more British than what you have. Like I've always been, St. George's flag at the football game. I don't know.
No, yeah, you're like
tea drinking, beer drinking.
The British person. Yeah. It's a cultural experience to introduce you to my friends. Rose in Conceição was a historical moment.
But how beautiful is that? That's a good thing. And those are all the, those are the things that I love about Britishness, that I kind of, like am up a little bit and paint on a little bit for the benefit of other people, because that is what I love about Britishness. Okay, I don't love the hooliganism, I don't love those things, but I mean, this kind of like, I think like even the word patriotic, I wanted to say patriotic, and even that word, you can't, like it's kind of seen as a negative thing, don't you think? Especially in Britain, to be patriotic. Oh, if you're patriotic, that's like, it's got negative connotations, and we need to reclaim that. yeah, but we need to reclaim, what's wrong with being patriotic about things that you actually like about your country?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
a
and I
British people.
actually sometimes I feel like I need to highlight that more, because I think people get the impression that that I hate my country or something. Like people here are like, well, like it's about being able to be critical, I think. But anyway,
yeah,
the one thing that is a common stereotype that people bring up a lot here, like in day to day, is like the people have the notion that English people are like cold and reserved, cold in terms of like personality, and like more reserved and more uptight and maybe like held back, which obviously in some respects can be true. The stereotype comes from somewhere. And so a lot of people, when they meet me for the first time, they're like, oh well, because I'm not like that at all. Like I hug people and I'm really affectionate and like loud and outgoing, and
she's hella needy.
and then people say, like Brazilians will say like, oh well, you must be like that because you've lived here for so long. And I'm like, no,
I've always been like
this
that.
is just who I am. And maybe that's why I like found myself more here. But I think it's funny how people get like, oh, you could only be like that because you've been here. Like, no, there's many open, fun, warm, friendly British person. Get yourself to the north. That's what I'm going to say. I don't want to wage a war here on but stereotypes.
Yeah, that's another bugbear. That's a whole different thing, isn't it? But yeah, it is true. It is true that it's oversimplified in the definition of stereotypes. It was oversimplified, and actually, if you take many parts of the UK, you might be surprised to think that they're quite opposite to some of the stereotypes that you might think about. Yeah, in the north, people are great. People are well chatty.
Some people always say like, oh, like obviously if you go to London, oh, people don't say hello to each other on the street. People don't like interact with each other and stuff. I'm like, get yourself to the north. People, it's good morning. People are all chatty, and Fernando said that as well. Like he's been to Sheffield a few times and other places around the north and the Midlands and stuff, and it is a different experience. But also not necessarily just north, but like more countryside in the south. I'm sure it's like that in the countryside as well.
Yeah, in the villages and towns. Also, in any big city, in any country that you go to, people don't talk to one another on public transport.
Oh yeah, exactly. Get yourself
it's a rat
to
race,
Sao Paulo.
isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah. So you're a disappointing British person. As you sit there in front of the fire in 20 degrees. I have to mention that.
It's a chilly one today, guys.
You're lucky she's took off her fucking dressing gown as well. Yeah. Okay.
And like what you said, like can be both. Like for example, and the food thing, I was never really wanted, and this is like a thing that you can say about my family and stuff like that. Like friends used to like have dinner at home and then come around and have dinner again at ours, because my mum used to make dinner at like 8 o'clock, which is normal time to have dinner here in Brazil, but most people in England are having dinner at like 5, 6 o'clock, aren't they?
Yeah. I actually sat down for my dinner today at 5:55. I was like, this is life. Yeah. Do you feel like obviously living away has made you like more aware of these stereotypes and also turn them on or off in any way?
Maybe it's made me a bit more aware of them, but also made me appreciate more. Like it's made me more patriotic, because I was like, when I lived in England, I didn't really appreciate anything. Like I just wanted to get out.
Yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? I mean, that's never a true word has been spoken with that one.
Yeah, and you just normalize things, don't you? So it's not like you don't like appreciate those day-to-day things, but there's so many things now that I appreciate that I wouldn't have been able to appreciate, I think, without that distance and that contrast.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. That is one of the best things of having lived away, I think.
Yeah.
But okay, why don't you go to some of the answers that people gave you on your Instagram Go on your box.
Yeah,
Let's
so
hear
the people have spoken, and we've got some different answers here from some from non-British people, some from British people. So I quite like we're gonna get those different points of view here. So the first
Yeah.
one is from Abs. Love
Go on,
queuing.
Abs.
Love queuing.
Okay.
What do you think to
Okay.
that one? I said I
Okay.
read it
Yeah.
out to read it out to Fernando, and he was like, "Well, your dad doesn't like queuing." He was like, "Can't
No, you're
stand
very
being in a queue."
impatient.
I was like, "Yeah, well,
Mm.
he's Italian." I said no.
That's where that comes from.
British people. I think it's a vocabulary thing because I think
Yeah. It's
they
probably good
don't.
that you do that because people just saw a paw there, like that.
I think they hate queuing. They hate
Mm.
being in the queue, but it's the respect for the queue
Yeah.
that's part of the culture.
I don't know about queuing, Do we love queuing? What I'm not sure of the origins of that stereotype.
We
Why
love
is
the
why
concept of queues. Like you don't cut in a queue in England. People respect the concept of the queue. People don't
mm-hmm.
respect queues in Brazil. It's people cutting in
No?
all left, right, and centre. It's
Mm.
like crossing the road. People don't stop at zebra crossings here.
Yeah. So do you think in general, like abiding by the rules
Rules
is
and order.
yeah. Okay.
A
Okay, that's a
respect
British
for
thing.
the rules. Like you don't love the rule and maybe you don't even like participating in the rule, but it's a love for maintaining the rule.
Yeah. Yeah. And the potential outrage or the potential like if anybody dare cut in, like there was a woman, I was in the rain the other weekend, and a woman dared to cut in the queue. And actually, that's an interesting thing. I hope I can say this. It was clear she was not. How
Of
can I
British
say this? Is it?
origin.
Yeah, right. So maybe that's the thing. She's missed that British thing of whoa, 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 lady, respect the queue, right?
Yeah,
I don't know how
potentially.
long she's been in this country, but obviously she hasn't kind of come round to our very, very strict way of thinking when it comes to queues because she dared to cut the queue. And do you think somebody told her? Yes, they did. There's this
That's
woman.
what people love.
Yeah, the potential goss, the potential like the conflict. Yeah, she was like, I can't remember. She's like, oh, there's a queue in it in a Nottingham accent. There's a queue, completely miss it. It's big enough. Like it was quite a long
British people
queue.
love to complain about queues.
Yeah.
They love to
Anything that
complain
we can
about
complain
queuing.
about. Anything that we can complain about, we love it. That's why we're so famous for having bad weather. When in reality, we don't have any like I don't think we have worse weather than anywhere else in Europe apart from like obviously Portugal, Italy, Spain. But in our area of Europe, I don't think the British weather is worse. But why do we get tarred with this? Oh, the weather in Britain is shit. The weather in Germany is also shit. In the Netherlands, it's shit. In Belgium, in all of these other countries.
But the weather is
France,
never
maybe.
good for a British person. Like you're gonna complain in the cold, you're gonna complain in the
Yeah.
rain. When it's hot, you're gonna complain it's too hot.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
So in
like that
that
as well.
case,
You can't please
complaining.
you with the weather.
No, no. Well, that's then we can say that British people love to complain, regardless of what it's
Yeah.
about. We love to complain. Okay. Yeah.
And I'd love for please interact with this episode in the comments. Put each of
Look how
the
excited you are.
bullet
Look how
points and
pumped
say
up you
yes
are
or
by
no,
this.
because it's such a matter of opinion. Like, do you agree or not? Do you know what I mean? Loves a queue,
Yeah.
loves to complain, yes or no. Next one, loves tea in capitals.
Obviously.
It's true.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
There
true.
was oh yeah. Again, you're disappointing because you don't like tea, but there's nothing a good cup of tea can't fix. And I love that. I love that kind of motherly, oh, come round here, Duck, and have a cup of tea and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Britishness, that
Yeah.
we can all join together in the same way that, like, I don't know, in Argentina they have mate, or in other countries they have like other drinks maybe, or kind of, it's like a ritual, isn't it, of
Yeah, and it is, and it's
food
so
and
true.
drink. Yeah.
It's so universal as well. And
Yeah.
like, it's like that video of Gemma, what's her face?
Gemma Collins.
On I don't know if we can even use it on, like, put it in here because of copyright, but where what does she say?
I don't
She's
know.
saying to an American person, I think it's on Big Brother.
Yeah.
I've only seen
Yeah.
the meme on Instagram where she's like talking to an American person and she's like, I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
make him a cup of tea. It's really important to people. And she's like,
Yeah.
tea. The American woman's like, tea is really important to people. And she's like, making him a cup of tea is like giving him a grand.
Yeah. But it is. It's like a piece of your heart, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
it's like
it's a
we're not
gesture.
very good at using words, right? I think, and as another thing maybe about British people, we're not very like open and cuddly physically, but also loving maybe with our words, you know. And a lot of people like grew up and their parents never told them that they love them, myself included. No, but you know, instead of, whereas maybe a Latin person might express love or express, I don't know, feelings, we wouldn't do that. We say, here's a cup of tea, I've made you a cup of tea, I've left you a cup of tea on the side. That is like, whoa, that means sorry. That could mean so many things. It means sorry, it means I love you, it means whatever, I'm proud of you. You know, that is love. It's a gesture of love.
Yeah, for most
I'm here
British
for it.
people, that's what that
I'm here
means.
for it.
I had the words, which I'm grateful
Yeah.
for, but I'm glad that you all have the tea.
What don't you like about it? You just don't like the taste of a cup of tea?
Oh no, I was joking, mean, and like my parents did tell me they love me and they were proud of me and they actually verbalized those things instead of just giving me a cuppa. But
All
I was
right, okay.
taking the piss out of what you say. But
Okay,
I
sorry.
agree with the sentiment. It's not that, and I did go through a phase of drinking tea, like when I was at school and I used to go round to Elle's after school every day and stuff. Like she'd always make tea and toast, and that's, that was a great phase. And I was drinking tea. I just had never had the habit of drinking it, and it's not like I wouldn't choose. And like when you used to make me tea and stuff as well, I would drink it because you used to put like 6 teaspoons of sugar in it, and then it's like, nothing wrong with that.
Yum.
But I just wouldn't be my drink of choice. It's not that I can
No.
hate it. I would have a cup of
Yeah.
tea, but I like fruit tea, herbal tea.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
is
Okay. Okay.
something
Doesn't count.
that
I think it's a routine thing, isn't it? Like
but
I've
obviously it still has just because I didn't, it's still been a part of
yeah.
my culture, like those memories that I mentioned, and like at my grandma's
Yeah.
house or whatever. Like obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, that's super. Can't deny
What
it.
can I ask quickly? What's Fernando's opinion on tea?
Yeah, he likes it. His dad used
Take
to,
it or leave it.
yeah, takes it or leaves it. He drinks it when we're at my mum's house.
Yeah.
My brother's making tea all day long.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Josh loves a
Big
cup of
up.
tea and a bicky.
Nice one.
Anytime of the day or night.
Where it becomes a problem though is like people, for example, my mom, she doesn't drink water. You know, there are some people, I think ladies of a certain age, they replace drinking water
Like
with
if they
being
think
like,
it's
Mom,
refreshing, like
yeah, like it's hydrating them. I'm like, Mom, have you had a drink today? She's like, yeah, I had a cup of coffee at work this morning, then I had 2 cups of tea when I got home. Like, that doesn't fucking count. That's not.
yeah. But I think, I don't know if you experienced this, if you felt like enough time had passed. There were a lot of things. There are things that I bring back now when I go. Mum used to send me things more regularly. And there are some things that over time I just think you like enjoy
Yeah,
it when you have it, but
yeah,
it stops being like necessary in your routine. Do you know what I mean? Like I've
all
got a
of those
pot of
things.
Marmite that's been in the cupboard for months and I
Yeah,
haven't touched it.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
all of those things. Yeah, squash. I didn't drink squash for 2.5 years. Yeah, and the same now in reverse. I brought some things back home from Mexico, like tajin and things that you make
yeah.
like a michelada, like round the rim of the beer with. I'm probably never gonna have it. I just drink normal beer now.
So the next
Okay.
one is that everyone, there's three different adjectives that I'd like to use here. The original
Okay.
comment, the original comment is everyone is fancy, but I'd like to add to it,
Okay.
people, I think Europeans don't have this perception, but like people here, for example, think that everyone's
Mm-hmm.
rich in England.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all goes together. Everyone's fancy, rich, or like aristocracy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, it's like Bridgerton, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like made in Chelsea, which
Mm.
obviously people here have no idea what that is. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like those people exist.
Mm-hmm. But they do exist.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
do.
select few. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
They do, but it's such a select few. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. People would have the shock of their lives, wouldn't they? Like in the council estates, or I don't know, just in normal life. Um, just in a normal town or in Burton where we grew up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the first time I
if
took,
that's
it's like
what
when
they were.
the first time I took Fernando to Swaddling Coat town centre, and he was like, "Why are all these children smoking?"
Babes, I don't know what dream you've been sold about Britain, but this is it.
This
This
is
is it,
England.
guys. They're old. They're 14, but they're old.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes I say to people, "Have you never watched like Billy Elliot or This Is England?" Or, but they haven't.
No, of course they haven't. Of course they
That's deep.
haven't.
Have you ever watched Shameless? Skins?
Yeah. That's your legit England.
That's our
Yeah.
England.
Why
I think
why are
that's what it.
these children smoking
I think that's what it boils down to, isn't it? Because
fucking gold?
inside every country, everyone has their own culture. So I
Mhm.
think that people think because England is such a small country that there wouldn't be that much diversity, like that snapshot that you get from TV or from films of that nature is like what it is. And so obviously us
Mhm.
having this conversation, our realities are also different to,
Yeah.
you know,
I think the fact that there's struggle here and that, people are not living how people think that everyone lives in Britain. I don't know.
Britain is just
Uh,
so diverse, and that's something that
yeah.
that's something that makes me no, don't know if proud is that necessarily the word, but it's something that I appreciate, like, and it's
Yeah.
something that is so hard to grasp, and it's just like an understanding that you have about your own country, like the little nuances, and it's why I like something like Gavin and Stacey is just so hilarious because it's just how could you like understand that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you hadn't just grown up with like all of those different versions of being British, and that is just such
Yeah.
a good example, isn't it? Because there it's not necessarily even about like money or like social class, but they're just families from such different backgrounds
Yeah.
and they're so different.
Yeah. Do you watch Goggleboxes?
When I go to England, yeah.
You should watch. I feel like you should watch that at home in Brazil, because that to me, like, I watch it now and it's like my favorite TV show. And when I watch it, I always think the same thing. And it's exactly that. It's
Yeah.
like, this is so British, and it's just so lovely. It gives me such a warm, like, welcome, nostalgic kind of. I feel so at home when I watch it, and it always makes me feel good because it's that like snapshots of what it means to be British. And that's so many things. And Gogglebox only does like 10 of those things,
That's
right?
so true.
It's not even that diverse, but it does show a little bit. There's a family in Derby, there's a couple in Leeds, and it is, I don't know. I just
Yeah, and
really,
that's
really
so
love it for that.
that's something that I always try and get across to people here as well, is that because I think that people have an image of even like physical image of England as if it's like majority, I don't know, like the image that you have of like Swedes or like German people or whatever, do you know what I mean? And as if like you would be out of place if you went to England, and
Yeah.
like a Latino person would be like out of place. And I try and get across to how like diverse it is. Punctuality.
Okay, yeah.
So true.
It's not though, is it? It's only compared to Latinos who are ridiculously unpunctual.
Yeah, and the fact that that even makes you slightly annoyed when you say it is because you're British and it's been ingrained into you that being punctual is
Normal.
the done thing.
Yeah.
Again,
But compared to like other Europeans, again, Germans, who take the mick with it, you know. Punctual for us, isn't it? Punctual. If it's 7 o'clock, you arrive at 7 o'clock.
yeah.
In Germany, if you arrive at 7 o'clock, you arrive at 5. If it's 7 o'clock, you arrive at 5 to 7.
Where have you read that?
Students have told me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
And like the Italians, if it's 7 o'clock, you arrive at 5 past 7 or 10 past 7 or quarter past 7. Same as the Latinos.
Yeah, in Brazil,
right?
if it's 7 o'clock, you arrive at 9 p.m.
What's the point?
No, not everyone is like that, but the general thing is like, yeah, being 15 minutes late is nothing to them.
Yeah.
I have people who are routinely 15 minutes late in my classes, and they're just, it's just, do you know what I mean?
Do they apologize or not even?
Sometimes, but it's not like like I consider 15 minutes to be like an extreme.
Well, it's like a quarter of the class.
Yeah. But
Your
anyway,
money you're wasting, babes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But people in England are very, it's not even about if they're punctual or not, but punctuality is important. So I would say it's true that that's
Yeah.
a British quality.
Yeah, quality.
It's valued.
It's a British value. Yes, it is a British value. Punctuality. Yeah. Do you have any more?
No, those
Did
are
the
all the
listeners
ones I've
send in?
got.
Okay.
So should we see what
Okey-doke.
Wikipedia says?
Let's go to the fountain of all knowledge, the gospel. And it's
Let's see if
funny
we
because
agree
the
or
ones
not.
that people's the ones that people sent in and the ones that we've already talked about are on
Are they
here.
the
So
most
it's
okay.
categorized into it's oh my god. Right, we'll start with the positive ones. Okay, it's categorized them into positive and negative. The first positive one is politeness and charm as a British stereotype.
Don't agree. I don't think British people are polite.
No. Well, we discussed this, didn't we, in the clip about being polite, and actually that we're not that polite. It mentions James Bond here.
I think British people are polite, but it's different kind of polite than what it's like airs and graces.
Yeah.
That's that is an image that people have of us, isn't it? But I don't think it's necessary. We talked about this. There's not necessarily like an intention behind it.
Yeah. It talks about being a fancy British man, somebody who's charming, suave, well dressed, like James Bond. But okay, yeah.
No, none of
then
them
we
are
have
that
queuing,
which
is listed as a positive. Weird. That's listed as a positive stereotype. Queuing. I don't see what's positive about queuing, but okay. Then we have sense of humor. Yes,
it's the best one. But if you're not British, can you appreciate it? That is the big question.
No. It's like whatever country you're from, of course you think you're the funniest. Of course you do. That's it's like saying, oh yeah, British people are funny, but English people are funny, but Welsh people are funnier. Why would I say that? No, obviously we're funnier. Right? I just don't see who would.
But it's just that thing of like, I just think the the distance makes you appreciate it so much more, because I don't
Yeah.
think that when I lived in England I was like, oh my God, British people are so
Okay.
funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I'm
Yeah.
just it's just non-stop giggle. Like my favorite thing when I go home is just like whack on that daytime TV, or just, you know, the random TV that's on, and just giggle at people's Britishness. Like it's just
Yeah.
so funny. I tell you.
Yeah. All right, the next one is going to make you giggle. Right, the next one says stoic nature. Okay. And some of the phrases, it says British phrases such as stiff upper lip, keep calm and carry on, and always look on the bright side of life. What do you think?
No. The keep calm and carry on, yes, to a certain extent. Obviously,
Are
again,
we stoic?
depends who. Stoic, I don't think so. But again, I think that's a social class / North and South type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, in contrast to being reserved and unemotional, as you talked about earlier, Izzy, it says we're often seen as reserved and unemotional, but in a pragmatic sense rather than an overtly negative one. Interesting, isn't it?
You know, the whole always look on the bright side of life bit. Like I think there's like
Mm-hmm.
a to the keep calm and carry on note, there's like there's a sarcasm to things, isn't there? So, but a
Yeah.
sarcasm that sometimes, you know, like, yeah, the song, always look on the
Yeah.
bright side of your life.
It's like we accept
Life's a
that things are
little.
shit, but we're gonna smile and pretend that they're not.
Yeah,
There is a grittiness. There is a stoic nature to British people. Yeah. I
yeah.
think that's true, especially older generations.
Well, yeah,
Now
yeah,
they're all
yeah. And I,
snowflakes, but
yeah,
my grandma's well stoic,
yeah.
you know. And
Yeah, and
then
there's more of the etiquette and those things to that generation as well, aren't there? Like,
yeah.
and like things that you must do. Do you know what I mean? Like so and
Mm-hmm.
so had a baby, so and so moved house or whatever, you must send a card. And that is a thing that is still alive, even though it was more valued by our grandparents and potentially
Mm-hmm.
parents. That is still a thing. Like people
Mm-hmm.
don't send cards here.
No, they don't do their cards are not a thing. Not a thing at all. Yeah.
And I
Okay.
just really appreciate a card, honestly.
Yeah. God.
When
Christmas,
people ask me if it's
birthdays.
true, people in my classes sometimes ask me if it's true that we send cards for everything, and I just open my drawer and like show them the
Show them.
multitude of cards that I save, and they're like, "Oh my God, you even saved them all?" I'm like, "Of course I do. Someone took their time to write this heartfelt message out to
Yeah.
me. Throw it
Yeah.
in the recycling bin."
Right. The negative ones. Negative ones we already talked about in the clip. Antisocial behavior abroad.
Just going back to the tea one for 1 second.
Go on.
One of the things that isn't true about tea, I think the tea that some people have in mind as well is maybe like the Queen's afternoon tea, whereas our tea
Right.
is like a cuppa.
Just a cuppa.
Do you
Any
know what
time
I
of the day.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's one to hold in mind as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, sorry, go
Yeah.
on.
Good point. No, that was a good point, Izzy. Yeah, so antisocial behavior abroad. Yeah, okay. We're loud-mouthed alcoholics. Yeah. The next one I'm offended by. I actually feel like I don't want to read it out because I don't like just don't like it. Food. It says jokes are often told about British food being either low quality or inedible.
Yeah, but those people have not been to Ravenswood.
No. And then it says about globalization having brought Chinese, Indian, Italian, Japanese, and Mexican cuisine.
No, but do you know what? Because I'm not the biggest fan of traditional English food. It was never a
No.
big staple of my diet. But what I will say, and what I do say to people who dare mock British cuisine, is that if you go to England and you go somewhere and you have the traditional dishes and there's somewhere where they're well made with good quality ingredients, it's going to be
Like what though?
tasty.
Give me a dish.
Roast dinner.
Okay.
You could have a roast dinner at like a cheap, you know, you could have like a school dinner style roast dinner in a cheap pub
Yeah.
or somewhere
Yeah.
and think, what a load of shite.
Yeah.
Or you could have a roast dinner, you know, like at a nice pub or like at my mum's house or, you know,
Yeah.
and you could
Well,
be
I
like,
think
what,
a lot
like,
of,
what? Sorry.
it's all right. I just think a lot of family homes, a lot of people make a good homemade roast dinner at home. It's tasty food, isn't it?
I saw this video the other day of a Brazilian couple traveling in England, and they had fish and chips at like this calf, and it was like a bird's eye type fish fillet with like oven chips and like some peas. I'm like, no, like you just go to a chippy, do you know what I mean? To
On the
understand what
coast, yeah, you need to
fish
go to
and
the
chips
seaside.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you need to get yourself down to the big fish in Swad. Do you
In
know what
it,
I mean?
don't do us an injustice, you know, like we're already associated with poor food. Don't then, you know, kind of spread these false notions of you know what the
But
food is.
British food can be
Actually,
really bad. So for example, like I have many a horrifying memory of bad British
yeah,
food in my life. But
meat
when
and
done
two
well,
veg.
tasty.
Yeah,
English food is tasty when it's cooked well.
yeah.
This is my opinion, and I'm saying that as a defender, and I'm not even really that into it.
No, you're not. No, you're really not. But it serves a purpose. It goes back to this stoic stuff, you know. It's like serves a purpose. Meat and two veg. You've been down the mines. You've been down the pits. You're fucking hungry. You're on a load of mashed potato, meat, veg, gravy.
That's what I
Done.
always say to Brazilian people as well. Like sometimes you lack context, don't you? Because you see like that
Mm,
vision of like England being a rich country. Obviously, it is. It's one of the richest countries in the world, but our traditions and specifically with
yeah.
cuisine are from like wartime
Tough
and
times. Yeah, yeah,
struggle, and
yeah,
like the majority of the population didn't live that like riches. Like even if
yeah,
you think about like the colonial period, obviously that was something that like the monarchy and the governmental, but most of the people, you know, like think about medieval times, like Britain was like
yeah.
a
A
dump
cesspit.
with a
Yeah, yeah.
cesspit of disease and poverty. Oh, okay. He's remembered one. Good sense of humor.
Hey! Oh, brilliant. I'm so glad he said
Just to give
that.
context, my husband just came downstairs and just wanted to add another one, which was good sense of
Oh,
humor. Just come down
love that.
uh, before getting in the shower because he remembered that one.
Oh.
So yeah,
And
like
again,
that.
he hasn't learned that from you, has he? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah,
Anyway,
all of the amazing culture that I've presented. Honestly, he just has the best. But I think
Peter.
that's what it's about, to be honest, because when you get to know a culture through someone who's from there, it's just a
Mm-hmm.
completely different experience than when you are a
Yeah,
tourist, for example. You could never
yeah,
appreciate all of that. Like he appreciates things the same way that we're talking about because of those experiences.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because he's had fish and chips and a cup of tea with my grandma around the kitchen table. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Which is so
But
beautiful. That's the most beautiful thing. Hold
going
on.
back to
Yeah, go on.
the food, just to conclude, because like
Mm-hmm.
Britain in itself is the ground and like what we cultivate is poor in terms of like we can't cultivate a huge variety of things. So our food is based on
Mm-hmm.
that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Potatoes, root vegetables,
yeah,
meat,
yeah. Your carrots, your sprouts. Yeah, yeah.
turnips,
Your
your spuds.
sweets. Right, there's four more on here, four more negative ones. I'm
Your
not going to go into
collie.
detail. One of them's weather. I'm not getting into weather. I can't be bothered. Just boring talking about weather. But the next one is football hooliganism. Yeah, it's not so much a stereotype as an actual social issue that we've got in this country. Again, exists in other
Not to be
countries
banalized.
too. We're not going to glamorize that one. We're not going to spend so much time on it. The next two are really interesting. And it's weird that maybe it's not weird, but I think it's kind of telling that even Wikipedia has got a paragraph on this.
Mm.
A negative common stereotype: British people monolingualism. British people are only able to speak English. So if you listen to, what episode would it have been, Izzy? But we've talked about that in episodes before. The language episode.
Yeah.
British and bilingual.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll link it in
that's
there.
what we talked about. Yes, yes, yes. Go check it out. The last negative stereotype, British stereotype, is about our teeth. Americans often joke about the British having bad teeth.
Yeah, Brazilians comment on that a lot as well.
Yeah, and Mexicans also said to me, "Don't all British people have bad teeth?" I think that's a weird one. I don't think we're not aware of that, are we? At least I would not, unless they'd have told me that, I wouldn't have thought, oh yeah, we're really famous for having bad teeth.
No, but it is kind of true. But I only have that point of view now because of I wouldn't have ever thought that when I lived in England.
So do you think it's true that we do have bad teeth?
Yeah, I think dental procedures are way more common here.
We're going to do the rest of the episode like this now, so nobody looks at my teeth.
No, like
So
I just don't
what
think
do you
we.
think
I
the
don't think we.
issue
I don't
is?
think we have like a culture of being taught to look after our teeth. Like, yeah, okay, we know we should
Right.
clean our teeth. People clean their teeth 3 times a day here. They clean their teeth after lunch.
You can brush your teeth too much though, Izzy.
No, I'm aware, but I'm just saying the culture.
Right.
Maybe it's all the tea.
Right. Fuck knows what it is. But again, it's like
Dental care in England is very expensive. Let this be. But it's true, isn't it? We have the National Health Service, but dental services aren't included. So maybe people only do the necessary to their teeth because it's expensive.
Yeah, over the age of 18 or whatever, 16 or 18, whatever it is. Yeah, that could be right. That could be right.
When's the last time you went to the dentist, Rose?
6 months ago.
Okay. It didn't serve as a good example.
I will,
for me.
no, I will hold my hands up. I went to the dentist, or I've got an appointment in a couple of weeks, but it's 6 months after the previous appointment. However, before that, it was
That's
10
just because
years.
you were gallivanting. That's just
No, I hadn't been to the. No, it wasn't though, Izzy. I can't blame the gallivanting. I hadn't been to the dentist. I hadn't paid to go to the dentist. So that says that I hadn't been to the dentist since it was free, since I was 17.
Yeah.
It's so complicated though, isn't it? It's like I don't want to speak, and maybe we should put a disclaimer at the end of this episode. Like, I don't want to speak for everyone, and probably people listening to this have a lot of different ideas than what we have. So
we said this at the beginning, like the stereotypes, there's always so many different ones. There's some that are similar. There's always so many exceptions to the rule. And like, I think we have made that clear as well, because like I said, there's some that I agree with that definitely don't apply to me. So it's definitely, stereotypes are generalizations, aren't they? So they can't be, but
oversimplified. I like that.
And heavily influenced by our personal experiences, which are of a specific region of England. Yeah.
That's a good point as well. We have a subjective view of them, and it's not like there's one truth for the whole country. Yeah, love that.
But some of them are, some of them that we've talked about, like tea, and some of them are, united by the whole country.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic.
That's what's great about tea, because it unites us. Actually, that's a good thing to close on, isn't it? That is the beauty of tea, because whether you're drinking it in a little china cup or whether you're drinking it in a massive builder's mug, that is the kind of,
that's a great point,
the ribbon that runs through us all.
Yeah,
apart from you.
Okay, well, as we've said, I hope you've enjoyed this. I would love to hear if you think they're true or not, if you've got other stereotypes that we didn't mention, if in your region of England or where you live there's some different ideas. Would love to know about that. And I hope it's come across how much we appreciate all the differences and how we just,
But yeah, let us know. Let us know your comments, whether you're British or not. What do you think? Or if you got extra ones that we haven't mentioned today?
Yeah.
What are we like from your perspective?
Yeah. And thanks for tuning in. It was a ball. I loved it.
You've enjoyed this one, haven't you? Look, somebody's come to say goodbye.
Do you know what it is? I think I just love oh my God. I think I just love connecting to my Britishness. It's just such a weird experience because like it is so much, obviously so much part of me, but also it's not part of my day-to-day anymore. So it's nice to talk about it and reconnect to it. And obviously when I go back, those kind of things, you really value those small things that when you live somewhere you don't think about, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things are stereotypical, aren't they?
And on a day-to-day, those are the things that we should focus on. Me living in Britain, we should focus on those things that bring us all together instead of the things that separate us. You know. Anyway. Well,
thanks for tuning in, guys. You've been listening to
Anglatinas. Thank you so much.
Bye.